Welcome in. 49ers OTA session number 2, publicly available OTA session number 2 is in the books. Matt Barrows has a nice article up on The Athletic. Be sure to check that out. I have one coming on Drake Jackson tomorrow morning. That's going to be one of the many talking points on today's show. But it was another busy day in the 49ers quarterback news cycle. When it is ever not a busy day in the 49ers quarterback news cycle, because it just seems that people want to keep on pushing this because they get clicks and they don't care if the truth is present in whatever they're putting out there. But there are a lot of truths and there are a lot of lies in the 49ers quarterback situation and how it's being covered right now. And that's what I want to tackle in this show. There's a lot that I want to tackle in this show, but I do want you to check out Matt's article. Spencer Burford and Colton McKivitz have firm grasps on starting jobs. That's according to 49ers offensive line coach Chris Furster, who spoke today. He actually brought Colton and Spencer into his office the other day and said, you don't have to be looking over your shoulder. You are entrenched right now as the starting right tackle in McKivitz's case and the starting right guard in Spencer Burford's case. But he also told them that competition's going to happen. You're just in a firm lead right now because Spencer Burford has been night and day different than last year as far as his confidence level goes. And the 49ers have liked Colton McKivitz for quite some time. They're already shopping Mike McGlinchey last year. They were okay with Colton McKivitz taking over the right tackle position then, but that had to wait until now. So that's really the depth chart roster news of the day is Chris Furster speaking out about the offensive line. But I want to speak out about the 49ers quarterback situation. There are truths and there are lies out there, and we're going to rebut the lies that are out there with truths, one for one. I've got 3 lies and 3 truths. Lie number 1, Trey Lance is getting all of the first team reps at 49ers practice. Some national media account of a person that I don't even know, I've never met in person, so who knows if he exists, but some national media account this morning said that Trey Lance is getting all the 49ers first team reps at OTAs, and that this means that either Trey Lance is somehow excelling or Sam Darnold is not doing well or the 49ers thinking has somehow changed. Well, guess what? I went out onto the actual practice field today, and Sam Darnold started Wednesday as the 49ers first team quarterback. So this truth number 1 proved this, Trey Lance getting all the first team reps, to be a lie. You literally can't make this up. Something gets thousands of retweets online. Some of the national media picks it up. They think that Trey Lance is literally taking all the first team reps. And then you go out to practice a few minutes later, and it's Sam Darnold taking the first team reps to begin practice for the 49ers. This isn't complicated. People just need to listen to what Kyle Shanahan says. And last week he said that although Trey Lance started OTAs taking all the first team reps, Sam Darnold would filter in as he learned the playbook. And Shanahan said that by the end of the offseason program, Sam Darnold and Trey Lance would be splitting first-team reps. Well, no surprise, exactly that happened on Wednesday. We saw a split between Sam Darnold and Trey Lance. So, the truth matters. And this initial lie was something that was really, really easy to disprove if you just looked at what Kyle Shanahan was saying. And today, with our own eyes, the 49ers actually did what Kyle Shanahan said, and that was split first-team reps between Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. And there's every reason for the 49ers to do that. Both number 3 picks. You have to see how both guys work with the offense. The 49ers have called this a competition of the quarterback position, so why wouldn't it be one? That's exactly what's unfolding in front of our eyes right now. Lie number 2. The 49ers thinking of their quarterback pecking order has changed. Now, this one's funny. This mainly comes from people who blindly follow Trey Lance online. And again, I always have to add this caveat because some viewers are new. I recommended the 49ers draft Trey Lance in 2021. I predicted they would draft Trey Lance in 2021 when everybody was saying Mac Jones. So I have nothing against Trey Lance. But I also don't feel this compulsion to completely distort reality to make myself feel better and put Trey Lance in some kind of imaginary rising position that has not been corroborated by anything that Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch have said or anything that the 49ers have done. And it's funny because you see, some social media chatter out there saying, oh my gosh, the 49ers rhetoric has completely changed regarding Trey Lance. This offseason opened as Brock Purdy being QB1, and now it's an open competition. And that's a complete lie. None of that ever happened. The actual truth is that John Lynch again said on Sirius XM radio on Wednesday that Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse in the QB room. And guess what? John Lynch has never, and Kyle Shanahan has never anointed Brock Purdy as the surefire starter for the 2023 season in this whole process. Throughout the whole thing, they've always said that this was going to be a competition, and that Sam Darnold and Trey Lance would go after it in OTAs, and that hopefully, injury permitting, rehab permitting, Brock Purdy would join them in training camp, and then the 49ers would let the best man win. They're looking at this quarterback position holistically. So this whole idea that Trey Lance is making up ground because John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are speaking differently now is completely fabricated out of thin air. In fact, we can look at what John Lynch actually said today. Put it back up on the screen. This is from Sirius XM radio. Let me just read John Lynch's quote. This is a direct quote. There's certain markers you hit, and Purdy was 12 weeks out, and that meant it was time to throw. By the way, Brock Purdy has resumed throwing this week. He did so and responded really well. He's just had one session thus far, but we're incredibly encouraged by that. Brock's a worker. You give him a task, and he's going to do everything in his power. So these are just timelines, and just like that, they're guidelines. But when I say tracking well, it's just he's hitting all his markers, and that doesn't surprise us because he's putting in the work. As for best case scenario, we're just going to kind of take it as it comes. The hope is that he's ready for training camp. The hope is that he's ready for the regular season. But what I can tell you is I mentioned Trey, I mentioned Sam. We feel good about that position holistically. So we're not going to do anything to put Brock in a situation where he's not fully healed. That means not just getting back, but getting reps in under your belt, the whole deal. So we'll take it as it comes, as we're doing. He's working incredibly hard, and the returns are really good. So that's the injury update on Brock Purdy. In that same interview with Sirius XM Radio, John Lynch reasserted that Purdy's the leader in the clubhouse, but leader in the clubhouse doesn't mean surefire starter. The 49ers love competition, and there's nothing wrong with competition. For some reason, a lot of the lies, the source of a lot of the lies, seem to be afraid of a competition. But sorry, this is football. This is meritocracy. The 49ers are going to open this up to the best man winning the job. Line number 3. This one's funny because this one was the prevailing narrative about a week ago. It was just coming out of Twitter again. Brock Purdy's a dink and dunk quarterback. Well, that's just not a credible thought about football. Anybody putting that kind of stuff out there probably shouldn't be talking about quarterback play. There's not a lot of credibility there because the truth is that Brock Purdy was actually top 10 in every single attack downfield metric last season. Numbers ever since he took over. Number 7 in touchdown passes of 20 or more yards. This is number 7 across the board. Number 7 in touchdown passes, period, after he took over. Yards per attempt up there. Number 7 in gains of 20 or more yards through the air. And number 1 in intermediate passes. When you look at air yards, intermediate passes between 10 and 20 yards, Brock Purdy was the best quarterback on PFF's record. Highest completion percentage ever on PFF's record, 83% on intermediate passes. He was also a staggering 13.8 yards per attempt on throws that traveled over 10 air yards and less than 20 air yards. So he obviously attacked downfield. A throw between 10 to 20 yards in the air in the NFL is a downfield throw. And he also attacked deep. I still remember George Kittle running the route for Ray McLeod in the game against Washington. I still remember the touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey against Tampa Bay. Those are all throws downfield. This right here is a narrative that is born out of jealousy, is not rooted in reality, is something that just comes because people decide to pick quarterbacks instead of looking at how a football team is built. And if you're picking Trey Lance and you're threatened, I don't know why you're trying to pick a quarterback when you're trying to look at a team that is evaluating its quarterback position holistically. But if you're trying to do that, then you're going to try to discredit somebody else. And it makes no sense. It leads you to lose credibility. And it's countered by this truth that, you could say this, but the facts say the opposite. And guess what? The truth actually matters in this situation, or at least it's going to matter on this show. John Lynch addressed this. By the way, Danny G on Twitter, he's hilarious. This is what he put up there. Anytime somebody wants to debate yak versus air yards, just send them this picture. Joe Montana and Bill Walsh laughing all the way to the bank. You know who else threw some shorter passes, set up yards after the catch, and then had calculated deeper strikes downfield? This guy. And you know who called those plays? The guy on the right. Somebody's saying, well, yeah, Brock Purdy is picking up big yards downfield, but most of it's through yak, or all of it's through yak. Well, first of all, it's not true. I just mentioned several examples of Brock Purdy actually delivering the ball downfield in a way that the air yards are past 10 yards or whatever downfield. But, you can just throw that out anyway, because the scheme, Kyle Shanahan replaced Bill Walsh with Kyle Shanahan and replace Joe Montana with whoever's at quarterback for the 49ers, Brock Purdy, last year. And obviously Jimmy Garoppolo was there before him. But the play caller's trying to set up yak opportunities. That's part of the offense, and it's not easy to facilitate yak. So anyway, whenever this debate comes up, you can point to something like this, or you can take it from a Hall of Fame quarterback who's actually been part of this debate on the internet. Kurt Warner could not believe his eyes when he was reading the stupidity of some of these comments. And this was his tweet just a couple days ago. Seriously? Now it's the type of throws? Only outside the numbers or your dink and dunk? Come on. This is just stupid. That is from Kurt Warner, who I'm sure knows more about quarterback play as a Hall of Famer at that position than some of the randos on social media who are trying to push some of this stuff. So, training camp and the season can't come soon enough because we're just having so many ridiculous conversations. These three lies so easily countered by these three truths. And truth does matter. We got some of it at OTAs today where Sam Darnold indeed saw first team reps alongside Trey Lance. We saw the 49ers push the ball downfield. That was interesting to me because the 49ers have a shorter range passing attack. They do try to accentuate the yards after the catch. They love the intermediate game. Kyle Shanahan has always coached an effective intermediate game, and that's why Brock Purdy paired really well with Shanahan last year. But they do take calculated shots downfield. It's just that, we don't always see them practice those shots. The practices where they are tailoring their skill set for those calculated shots downfield, they're really fun to watch. A lot of stuff off play action, a lot of bootlegs, a lot of windups and heaves downfield. And that was the case at 49ers practice today. Maybe I could pop this open on my YouTube because I had a lot of footage from practice today. So you can go ahead and check this out on my page, but I'm going to put it on the screen while we are talking today. Because why not? This is fun stuff. All right, here we go. So here it is. Trey Lance, Sam Darnold throw deep at 49ers OTAs. The first throw on this, I think before it showed up on the screen, was a heave from Trey Lance. But we'll see Sam Darnold also. Oh, actually, I need to rewind. That's why. I was already past the deep throws. Here it is. Play action stuff. Lance flips his hip, plants his feet, throws a strike downfield. This next throw from Sam Darnold is going to be a little bit shorter. 49ers mix it up during some of these warm-ups. But he also will have a chance to throw deep downfield. And Brandon Allen, the 49ers' third quarterback here during this offseason program, was also letting it loose. Brandon Ayuk, once the 49ers added a defense, once it was 11-on-11 work, Brandon Ayuk caught two deep touchdown passes, one from Sam Darnold, one from Trey Lance. There's the heave from Brandon Allen. Nicely done. Very first play of practice today was Sam Darnold throwing deep to Danny Gray, but Gray couldn't hold on to the ball. Lance missed that one fairly badly. I would say that Sam Darnold was more accurate in practice today than Trey Lance. I think that's a fair assessment. Here's Darnold's deep throw. I know people love watching this kind of stuff, so that's why I'm putting it up there. It shows that, just a very calculated part of that 49ers offense are these throws downfield. It's just not a huge part of any NFL offense, really, especially something like Kyle Shanahan's offense, which accentuates the run game, accentuates yards after the catch, and tries to really, really focus on the intermediate passing game. But today, as you can see, the 49ers were trying to use all parts of the field with their pass game because at some point that is necessary to optimize efficiency. We have other news. Drake Jackson truly yoked up. Let me find this for you. This is what I got to write about. I know I talked about Drake Jackson being beefed up when I was in Prague. Well, today we got more video evidence. Take a look at this. That's 13 extra pounds of muscle for Drake Jackson. That will be the article tomorrow morning. Brandon Ayuk has a vibe this year. He thinks he's still underrated. He thinks he's just taken off. It was a 1,000-yard receiving season last year, but I mentioned the 2 touchdown catches for Brandon Ayuk today. Those were impressive. He was he was having fun out there, especially after that first one. He caught the first one from Sam Darnold. Second one, a little bit more running after the catch from Trey Lance, but Brandon Ayuk was fired up. It didn't seem that he could be covered. He thinks he's a premier wide receiver and is not yet recognized as such in the NFL. And I think that Brandon Ayuk is dead set right now on establishing himself as an A-lister so that the 49ers pay him. We talk about the 49ers roster building strategy, and this is something that, I've talked about a lot over the years, or over the months, I guess I should say, because this is something that I've just put into words in a step-by-step process fairly recently. I tweeted this on March 14th, so about 2.5 months ago. 49ers building strategy is to acquire and develop A-list players and then pay those A-list players with a list that can grow as the salary cap does. They don't pay B-listers. They let the B-listers walk, and they replace them through the draft or through bargain bin free agency. So Brandon Ayuk wants to get paid. Brandon Ayuk wants to be number 2, and I think he's well on his way there. And I think that one more season here of 1,000+ yards, another incremental step toward the stardom and the recognition that he's looking for, I think that would put Brandon Ayuk firmly into A-list category, and the 49ers, in my opinion, would pay him. I predict they'd pay him in that situation. And today, some of the answers that Brandon Ayuk was giving, the fact that he is uncoverable on that field in OTAs, those are all good signs in that direction for Brandon Ayuk. How about the 49ers corners who came out of the 2021 draft? Deommodore Lenoir, who's now wearing number 2, and Ambry Thomas. Thomas had a nice pass breakup today. I think he was working against Chris Conley, the veteran wide receiver. Thomas might be a little bit bigger and stronger. We can put the cinematic mode video up on here to see the 49ers defensive backs. I'm using 3x cinematic now, by the way. You can check this out on the channel. But right now we'll play with that beautiful depth of field. There you see Isaiah Oliver. There you see Deommodore Lenoir, see number 2. Lenoir, he was always strong. It's Ambry Thomas that needed to physically put on some beef, and you're going to see Ambry Thomas a little bit later in this video. But Deommodore Lenoir made some plays today. He was one of the stars for the 49ers defensively. And Ambry Thomas did make that pass breakup. Nice, strong physical pass breakup against Chris Conley. Jair Brown is 27. You'll see him on the right. Here's Talanoa Hufanga. Give me the Bang Bang Niner gang. And I can't wait till you do see Ambry Thomas. It's not till a little bit later in this video, so you can judge for yourself to see what he's physically looking like. But Ambry Thomas is fighting for a spot on this football team. That's important to note because the 49ers want the best cornerback depth possible, and they've obviously tried to replenish that position in the draft. There's Darrell Luter Jr. That's one of the main guys that they've tried to replenish the position with. There's Thomas, number 20, right in front of you. Looks like that upper body is indeed a little bit thicker for Ambry Thomas. And that's what the 49ers have needed. And today, again, he made that physical play, and that's good news for the 49ers. Taylor Hawkins, safety, was on the practice squad last year. The 49ers defensive backs all work under the tutelage of Steve Wilks, who's in the red over there in the middle. I focused on him there with the cinematic mode. Wilks enjoys working with the 49ers cornerbacks. Why don't we go back to the start of this? Isaiah Oliver, slot physicality. There's Isaiah Oliver, 22. You could tell he's a lot bigger than 49ers nickelbacks in the past. 6 feet tall, over 200 pounds. 49ers, obviously under Wilks, it's really apparent to me that they're looking to diversify this defense. They're trying to get more run support out of that nickelback position. That, big slots are taking over football right now. The big slot position is all the rage. So you can't have a little small 5'9" skinny nickelback. Jawan Jennings eats those guys' lunches, right? It's one of those things where with the big slot proliferating around the league, you need a physical nickelback to step up. And the 49ers realized that, and that's why they went out and picked up Isaiah Oliver. And Isaiah Oliver had a really, really interesting point today. The 49ers made NFL history this past year. Teams that played the 49ers went 0-14 the week after playing the 49ers. Some people said, oh, that's coincidence. I don't think it was coincidence because the 49ers play a really physical brand of football and they wore teams out. Isaiah Oliver pointed out that the Falcons, who beat the 49ers in, I think it was week 6, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That's Isaiah Oliver was with the Falcons in that game. He said that the Falcons really felt the after effects of that game. And he said that the following week, when they lost their next game, they had a letdown. He said it was because we played the 49ers the week before. So that's the first time that we've heard from a player on one of these other teams, or now Oliver's with the 49ers, but he used to be on one of these other teams. That's the first time we've had it verified that, yeah, the 49ers bruising has really, really hurt teams playing the week after they played the 49ers. And that's a good example of 49ers zagging while the rest of the league is zigging. They're trying to play physical football at a time when the game has lost a little bit of that edge. So interesting note from Isaiah Oliver. And then, of course, the 49ers O-line update. This is what I opened the show with, but those of you joining right now, this is really our only firmer roster update of the day. This is Matt Barrow's article. Spencer Burford and Colton McKivitz both have a firm grip on starting jobs at right tackle and right guard. Burford for right guard and Colton McKivitz at right tackle. So that's what happened today. Why don't we open this up to a 49ers Q&A? How's everybody doing? Kyle Shanahan basically told the NFLPA rep to get off the field, and there was some words exchanged back and forth. Supposedly, they cleared the air after. So this is just answering the question. Kyle Shanahan was being territorial of the 49ers practice field. He thought that NFLPA rep was a little bit too far in the practice field. Could be a player safety issue. We won't be 100% sure until we actually get to talk to Kyle Shanahan. Mike says, post your questions. Mike also asks, are there any players who shined today? Well, I already mentioned a few. Brandon Ayuk, boy, he did really shine. 2 long touchdown catches. I thought that both Lance and Sam Darnold made some nice throws downfield. They also missed some downfield. I thought Darnold was more accurate than Trey Lance today. Ty Davis-Price made a nice catch from Trey Lance on a little wheel route out of the backfield. That was good for the 49ers. Defensively, Deommodore Lenoir shine. Ambry Thomas had a nice play. And Isaiah Oliver continues to make plays for the 49ers. I think he's going to be a really solid pickup for them. How does Jair Brown look? That's some more news. So Brandon Ayuk is Jair Brown's locker room neighbor. And Brandon Ayuk is really impressed with Jair Brown. He says that Jair has 4 interceptions already in OTAs. So we're not at every single practice because only one a week is open to the media. But Jair Brown was the only player coming out of college football last year that had 10 interceptions over the past 2 seasons. So he's got good ball skills. He's got 4 already in OTAs. And Brandon Ayuk said that he could have had 5, but he dropped 1. So interceptions should not be taken for granted. The 49ers had an NFL record low 2 picks in 2018. They led the league with interceptions last season. They would like to continue perpetuating that. One of the reasons why the 49ers led the NFL, a reason why they saw such a big turnaround over just a few seasons, is that they've brought in more players with ball skills. They've replaced their Jaquiski Tarts with a Talanoa Hufanga, right? And I think Jair Brown obviously has ball skills. He has a nose for these interceptions, and he's next in the pipeline. 4 interceptions already in OTAs. Which position group do I have the least confidence in with the 49ers? It's a good question. Man, they're good across the board. I would say cornerback depth is still a big question for the 49ers. So Ambry Thomas making a nice play today was good for the 49ers. And that quarterback position, you need somebody to step up, and Brock Purdy is still recovering from his injury. So it's one of those where you could feel good about your chances holistically, but until somebody actually does it and Purdy actually does return from the injury, it's still one that you have to worry about if you're the 49ers. What about Wishnowsky? What about him? Wishnowsky was there. He was catching here. If you're interested in Wishnowsky, we could look at the 49ers kicker battle. Look at this. Kickoffs from Jake Moody and Zane Gonzalez. Working on that part of the game. And guess who is trying to catch the kickoffs? There you go. Mitch Wishnowsky. Another end of the field. Didn't do too well with that one, but he does better with this next one. 49ers punter. Not on the team because of his hands. But Zane Gonzalez boots a kick, gets some nice hang time, and Mitch Wishnowsky this time is more ready for it. Nice catch. It's not easy. You got to give Mitch some credit there. Let's see if he catches this next one from Jake Moody. This is about 1:02 of the 49ers two kickers, Jake Moody and Zane Gonzalez, working on their kickoffs. Kicking it right over the quarterbacks. That one is blocked, but I saw that ball hit the ground. It looked like Mitch Wishnowsky only caught 1 out of 3 on that video. Is Jason Verrett worth a low-cost risk as depth at quarterback? Well, it wouldn't be a risk. If you sign Jason Verrett, it'd be just like last year. It'd be on a veteran flyer. I don't know where Jason Verrett is in his recovery or if he's planning to play this year. So that's a question that can't really be answered until we have more information. The 17 jersey will not be revealed. The backside of the jersey will not be revealed until the 49ers win a Super Bowl. Those are the rules of the channel. Should Brown beat out Gibson and the 49ers release Gibson? Do they get cap money back? Maybe a little bit. Let me look to answer your question. Tashawn Gibson over the cap. It just depends on how much guaranteed money Tashawn Gibson was paid. And so he was paid a signing bonus of $1 million. So the 49ers would get, if they cut Tashawn Gibson, which I don't see them doing because they're going to want safety depth. And Gibson was a top 5 safety last year, guys. I mean, just because somebody might beat somebody out doesn't mean that you just cut the other guy. Depth is extremely important. A lot of people complain about injuries. Well, the way you overcome injuries is by fortifying your team with depth. But you look at Gibson's salary, and it's $1.17 million base salary. The 49ers don't owe him that. Won't become guaranteed until after week 1 as a veteran. But they gave him a $1 million signing bonus, so they do owe him that. Of course, I think the 49ers can make a Super Bowl run. They have one of the best rosters in football. They were just short of the Super Bowl last year. That's a good question. We haven't gotten the verdict yet. She's enjoying the smooth face right now. So for the time being, that's what I'm going with. It's more comfortable for me too. But we'll see if the beard makes a return during the football season. Leroy Watson, I mean, it's tough to say that he's the primary backup at left tackle because Trent Williams is not at OTAs, right? But Leroy Watson has put on weight. He's about 315 pounds now. Remember, former tight end in college, teammates with Spencer Burford at UTSA, and the 49ers love him as a tackle project. Brock Purdy has resumed throwing. He is throwing this week. Yeah, I don't know why people would want to release Gibson. He was top 2 in stats at his position last year, both in run defense and in pass defense. I mean, this guy was a total stud at age 32. So even if Jair Brown usurps him on the depth chart because Brown is the truth, you're going to want to keep Gibson in there. And right now, the 49ers are talking about 3 safety sets to get Jair on the field with Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga. You don't release good players. You just don't do that. This is the NFL. You value good football players. Michael Powers thinks the 49ers have seen enough of Jalen Moore. Well, are you sure? Because a lot of people said that they had seen enough of Colton McKivitz, but McKivitz turned it on in 2021, and then especially last year really impressed the 49ers. You got to give guys like Jalen Moore chances to compete in camp. A veteran offensive tackle that's available right now is not likely to be better than Jalen Moore. You know, these guys don't grow on trees, right? You just don't go and wake up and sign somebody and have a better idea than the 31 other teams in the league in late May or early June. There's a reason the guys are still available on the free agent market, and it's likely because they're flawed players. So you have to continue having patience and developing your guys, and Jalen Moore is still part of the 49ers right now. 17, I'll tell you this, 17 is definitely not Jalen Hurd. This jersey right here is definitely not Jalen Hurd. That is kind of funny, though. Realistically, it could be any of the three guys. Let's just let it play out organically. Again, Brock Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse, but he still has to heal up. We still have to see what Sam Darnold and Trey Lance do. It could be any of these three guys. It's a question that does not have to be answered right now and will not be answered right now. Just sit back, enjoy the show. The 49ers are looking at this holistically, and you can look at it holistically as well. Smash that like button. Hell yeah. Purdy is not in practice yet. Purdy has resumed throwing, but he's not in practice. Now, John Lynch said he is incredibly encouraged by Brock Purdy's throwing, but he's not back yet. AJ Jenkins happens to be number 17. Maybe that's an AJ Jenkins jersey next to me. Who knows? Who looked good on defense today? Deommodore Lenoir, Ambry Thomas, Isaiah Oliver. All of the above. Those guys look good on defense. Still no Javon Hargrave or Nick Bosa. I would expect those guys to be at mandatory veteran minicamp. Play out organically and QB option power are the words of this offseason. Yes, and option power seems to be a word of every offseason, or two words of every offseason. That's what the 49ers have built in with their strong roster. That's how they're operating this business. Business 101, right? Remember that from last year? That's how this ship is being run. They give themselves options. They look at positions holistically, and then they're able to read, react, and adapt when shit inevitably happens in these NFL seasons. That's why they're able to get as far as they did, despite all those 49ers quarterback injuries last year. Oh, really? Jimmy Garoppolo lost the 49ers the Super Bowl? Since when is it an individual sport? Since when does an offensive line not matter? Since when does a defense not matter? Why is it all on the quarterback? See, these are not smart comments. Let's bring some more credibility with our comments on this channel. Is anyone standing out at the running back position besides Christian McCaffrey? Well, McCaffrey is just a complete stud. Jordan Mason, I think, looks good. They don't have pads on yet, and they're not tackling to the ground. They won't until the preseason. So it's going to be really hard to really judge running until then. I will say that Ty Davis Price had a nice catch out of the backfield on the wheel route today. I think this is, you're talking about cap space. Yeah, the 49ers will definitely want to carry some over. They have $10 million right now. They're going to free up some more space when they extend Bosa because they'll stretch the cap hit out. They could still sign somebody, but if the 49ers can carry over $10 million into next season, they'll be in a much better spot to keep the team together come 2024. I have no idea. Do they release Oren Burks and the safety? You're talking about George Odom, special teams aces, to keep the rookie linebackers and Wilkes' guy, Miles Hartsfield, on the roster? Well, I mean, to help answer your question, why don't we look at the depth chart for the 49ers? We got this open up on the screen right now. I think you're saying Oren Burks and George Odom, both of those guys I have firmly making the team. Oren Burks right here, George Odom right there. Miles Hartsfield is a bigger question to me, but if somebody gets in, I have him on the outside looking in, but if somebody gets injured, sure, move Miles Hartsfield in there. He is still Steve Wilkes' guy from Carolina. And the rookie linebackers, I have one of them making the team in D Winners. The other one I have on the practice squad in Jalen Graham. It shouldn't be that hard to sneak a 7th rounder and that was Jalen Graham onto the practice squad. So, no, I don't think the 49ers are going to be cutting special teams aces, proven veterans, just so they can get seventh rounders on the 53-man roster. Available cash during the season does allow for flexibility. You can make another trade like the Christian McCaffrey trade last year, although he had a low salary or low cap number last year. So it would have been easy to make that even without a lot of money, and the 49ers didn't have a lot. You never know what a cap number is going to be in season of a player that you want to acquire. And when that's the case, you're going to want to have some breathing room so that you can make that trade. Jed York has openly said the 49ers, they have draft picks again, right? We're beyond the Trey Lance trade now as far as lost draft capital. The 49ers have a 1, a 2, a 3 next year. That means they can make an in-season trade for another veteran if they decide to do that. And Jed York at the owners' meetings went out of his way to say that that was indeed a possibility. Option power. That is a theme. Again, option power. Void years are just on a contract. You add – you stretch out because signing bonuses are stretched out over the term of the contract to lower the cap hit, right? The cap hit is stretched out like an accordion. So you stretch out an accordion with void years. But as soon as you hit those void years and the contract expires, all of the money that hasn't yet hit the cap that had been stretched out into those future years rushes forward and hits the cap at the time that the contract expires. So you can only stretch out a cap hit from a signing bonus over 5 years max. And that's the length that you would limit yourself at as far as void years go. So it can help you in the short run if you need some room in the short run, but you're going to eventually have to pay that money at some point regardless. Nothing happened to Kinlaw. He's looking healthy right now, and he's going to be behind Javon Hargrave on that 49ers pecking order. Thank you, Michael. Kittle, Latu, Willis, Werner. Is that an accurate projection at tight end depth this season? Dwelly Oddman out. Also, Danny Gray losing his job to Bell. Well, Ronnie Bell dropped a couple passes today, first off. As far as tight end goes, here's what it looks like to me. Kittle, Werner, Willis, Latu making the team. Dwelly might indeed be the odd man out. As far as receiver goes, I have Gray on the inside looking in. Gray might be in a battle with Chris Conley as a speedster. I think Ronnie Bell will end up making the team. There's some talk about Ronnie Bell and Ray McLeod being a battle because Ronnie Bell can do special teams. He can be a punt returner. So all interesting stuff. We'll see what the 49ers decide to go with. Just let it organically play out here through training camp. Injuries often do dictate some of the direction on these decisions. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. It's been a fun little show. I think that it wrapped up what happened today. I might give you a little bit more content this evening, but a fun little live. Thank you, everybody, for your time. 49ers in OTAs have just finished open OTA number 2, where they dispelled a lot of these lies about the quarterback situation. I gave you some of the truths at the top of the show because truth does matter. Trey Lance isn't getting all of those first team reps. 49ers quarterback pecking order thinking hasn't changed. It's still the same thing that's been throughout. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan have been consistent saying this is a competition, but Brock Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse. And all that Brock Purdy disrespect, well, John Lynch came out and had a very, very strong quote in support of Brock Purdy today. Maybe I could even find this to close the show. There it is. Let's get this up on the screen for you. I wanted to put this one up a little bit earlier, but I put up the other Brock Purdy one. So here's John Lynch checkmating the Purdy doubters. Quote from John Lynch: "Is it a flash in the pan or is it the real deal? As we've gone back and studied it, he played at a high level. Not only played within the system, he made a lot of plays outside the system by extending plays. He showed tremendous playmaking ability. He showed tremendous ability to run the system efficiently, effectively, push the ball downfield. He just had an incredible first year. So the truth is that Purdy was top 10 in every attack downfield metric as a rookie. The truth to lie number one is that Sam Darnold started Wednesday as the first team quarterback. And another truth is that Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse. That's the way that the 49ers are seeing it. But still a long way to go. And the 49ers like all three of their quarterbacks. They think that Trey Lance, is having a really good offseason. They are viewing this holistically. All right, checkmate. We'll see you guys later. Everybody, take care. 49ers OTA number 2, public OTA number 2 is in the books. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you very soon.